Welcome to the Popish plot. Today is Fish Fry Day, and today's plot is abstinence.
Whoa, let's just, if you and the missus are having problems, I really don't think this is the forum in which to discuss them. Also, if it is, I need to leave.
Mike, it's Fish Fry Day. It's a Friday in Lent. We're abstaining from meat, so we're going to talk about abstaining from meat.
Abstinence, right. Although, I should note that it's not just Fridays in Lent. Technically, all Fridays are supposed to be days of abstinence. It just happens that in the U.S., the bishops have stated, though very few people know they've stated this, that if you don't abstain from meat, you should perform some other kind of sacrifice or good work. So as long as you're doing something penitential on Friday.
Yes, this was pointed out to me by Juliet when I first converted. In all honesty, I thought she was just trying to sort of scam me so we could cut down on food bills. But apparently it's actually in the Code of Canon Law, numbers 1249 to 1253.
Of course, because we're normal people who just happen to have the entire Code of Canon Law memorized. We didn't have to look it up at all.
It's also in the Catechism, paragraph number 1438.
Which again, we just knew off the top of our heads. We didn't consult any of these books that we actually have in front of us.
Well, of course not. It's much easier to do a keyword search on the bishop's website, usccb.org.
Once again, that's usccb.org. All right, so now that we've established the fact that we did in fact do a Google search for this topic, or at least, our writer did, what is it about not eating meat that we're going to discuss?
We're going to discuss the all-important question, what is meat? Or, possibly from a certain perspective, what is fish?
Well, to the question, what is meat, my basic answer is delicious.
Yes.
And what is delicious. Fish, less so.
That's a fair thing.
All right, so let's try to actually put an objective standard here. Okay. So meat is it's the flesh of animals, but not the flesh of fish, which are animals. But it's only warm-blooded animals that count as meat, because Jesus bled and died on a Friday, and being both true God and true man, he was warm-blooded, so he wasn't a fish.
To be in fairness, that most of that sounded reasonable, but I would like to point out that not even the craziest of heretics has ever gone and suggested that Jesus was a fish.
But what about the Jesus fish?
That's an item of art of artwork, not an actual person or even living creature for that matter. There's a Jesus lizard. But that's a whole other episode.
But that's not Jesus riding a dinosaur at the Creation Museum.
No. As far as the rules of abstaining go,
the official rules that differentiate what is meat and what is fish.
Yes. Most of them were actually written during a time prior to what we would consider modern taxonomy. So as far as what's what, they were kind of just sort of playing it by ear. So there's some fairly weird things that ended up getting onto the list of things you could eat during Lent.
Such as?
How about eating some muskrat?
Oh, that doesn't seem very appetizing at all. I mean, it's called a musk rat. Neither of those things sounds tasty.
That's fair. However, when they were first found in America, as they spend most of their time in or near water,
true,
they were declared to be a fish as far as abstaining was concerned.
Huh.
Now, this is not true in most places. However, if you live in the Diocese of Detroit,
the Archdiocese of
Detroit, it is still actually considered a fish, and there are some parishes that do muskrat fries during the season of Lent.
So you're telling me that if we go out and we get in your car
Uh-huh.
and we drive the 20 minutes or whatever it is to the Archdiocese of Detroit, we could have muskrat.
As long as we found as long as we found somebody that was going to serve us muskrat, we would not be breaking our abstinence of meat on Fridays.
Well, as St. Ambrose said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And conveniently, he was actually talking about local fasting customs. Though now it's used to mean pretty much anything that is done locally, like the observance of a holy day, a certain regulation or dispensation thereof, and, the disregard of fish's lack of fur.
Yes. And it wasn't the only water-loving mammal that got put on the list of okay foods. At one point, there is also, here in America, the beaver.
Sure.
Down in South America, they have the capybara.
Sure. In Australia, can they have platypus?
I don't know. I don't believe we looked into Australian rules. I kind of hope so, though. I mean, that'd be kind of awesome. I would
Cardinal
really try
Pell,
that.
the ball's in your court.
Yeah. And there's also some birds, such as the puffin and the skunk-headed coot, that were considered to be okay to eat.
Would any flightless bird probably be okay? No, because some of them walk on land.
Yeah. Yeah. However, there was the barnacle goose, which once was on the list. It is no longer on the list of Lenten foods, but it wasn't on the list because it lived in water. People thought that it spontaneously generated.
So, eating magical creatures doesn't count then?
Clearly, the people who came up with this list never read Harry Potter, because everybody who knows Harry Potter knows that eating a unicorn will give you a half-life, a cursed life. They have blood, and the whole point is not eating warm-blooded animals.
Well, non-warm-blooded animals have blood, it's just cold.
Yes, but I don't...
Alright, so
in fairness, I don't really get the nature of the rules.
So just to be clear, unicorns are out.
Unicorns are out.
So are there any meats we can eat besides fish?
Sure. There's shellfish.
Sure.
There's mollusks. There's reptiles and amphibians.
But aren't shellfish mollusks?
Some are, but there are mollusks that you wouldn't call shellfish, like squid or octopus. There's also crustaceans that are shellfish, but that aren't mollusks, like the lobster and crabs and crayfish, and these are all animals that you could eat during the season of Lent.
Though it should also be noted that it's not just the abstinence and the fasting, but also the almsgiving.
Yes.
So lobster, being somewhat of a luxury item, while following the letter, does seem to violate the spirit of the Lenten fast.
It does get a little pharisaical. And a muskrat isn't a fish.
Except in Detroit.
Except in Detroit. So remember,
I'd invite people, if they know of anything else, something we've missed.
yes. If there is a food that has been approved within the diocese that you live in, as far as things that you can eat during Lent that we didn't mention, please go down below in the comments and share it with us.
Something that's not fish, except in this instance, it is.
Yes. Yes. Something that you probably wouldn't eat on a normal Friday, but because it's a Lenten Friday, you might consider it. Who knows? Maybe we might go plan a trip, like the one that we've been planning to go down to Detroit for a while and enjoy some muskrat.
If only we weren't busy at our own fish fry.
Yeah, that's the thing that always gets us.
Dag nabbit.
So remember, hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. Give us some feedback, some encouragement. Let us know we're doing a good job, and help us to keep on going and putting out more material. At the same time, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so that you'll be notified when we do. And until next time, live your faith.
Love your faith. Share that love.